a fierce critic of the excesses of communist China. What I'm what I've always been horrified about with TikTok, and I've always encouraged my family not to have TikTok on their phone, is you're letting the communist Chinese government control what you see through communist Chinese government's algorithms. And then you're letting the communist Chinese government scrape data from you, possibly from your phone. Are you laughing at me? Are you thinking I'm sounding too much like a 1950s Cold War warrior?
No, actually, I'm surprisingly sympathetic to where you're going on this.
Okay, good. Okay. that was a mocking, surprisingly sympathetic. But I find it insane. I find it absolutely insane that there is an app out there. Where we're allowing the communist Chinese government to surveil our children, to surveil our families, to surveil our businesses, to surveil our politicians, to surveil our campuses, to surveil America. This is insanity. So, I mean, I am hopeful that the incoming National Security Advisor and the incoming president, I know it would be unpopular to ban this, but I hope that they are unbelievably aggressive in putting up a Chinese wall, so to speak, between the communist Chinese government and whomever takes control of this app. And by the way, that shouldn't be Elon Musk, because he is so in bed business-wise with the communist Chinese government. He would be the last person that people like Congressman Waltz should trust having control of this, because he would do exactly what the communist Chinese government would want him to.
Yeah, he's not the one to give the keys to the hen house. If you've heard what outgoing FBI Director Chris Wray has been saying, he has been warning of this sort of vacuum cleaner of information. This vacuum that in China that is sucking in Americans' data, all kinds of information in any number of different ways, and certainly through TikTok as well. And he warns how dangerous this is going forward. So you don't have to be kind of an unreconstructed Cold Warrior to be concerned about any foreign power, amassing, infiltrating our cyber realm, our cyber lives to this extent, and collecting that much information. And you have to worry about what, in the worst case, it could be used for in the future. So this is, Chris Wray has been trying to sound an alarm on this, and one hopes it's something that the incoming administration will take seriously and will try to address.
Yeah, and at the moment there isn't any evidence. I mean, there hasn't been any evidence up to date that the Chinese state has decided to use TikTok to attack America or divide America. But what's one of America's weaknesses? One of America's weaknesses is that everybody is siloed. We're in rage bubbles. We don't like each other in the country. And if you can't beat America militarily, or you can't beat it economically, communication mediums are an incredibly powerful tool. Ask any regime throughout history, right? If you control communication, you can do an awful lot of damage to your adversaries. What's to say that it's not just the data they're accumulating, but it becomes a two-way street, and that's used to increase those divisions and weaknesses that already exist in American society. I would feel, if you're going to cite national security as a reason to put tariffs on Canada and Mexico, but you don't think there's a national security concern with giving access to China to have one of the most powerful communication tools in American media, that seems a little bit of a disconnect.
we'll just note the Biden administration considered whether or not to explore sort of extension to keep TikTok going beyond the ban. They opted against that. They don't think they're going to enforce the ban in these next couple of days. And as the ban looms for TikTok, we should note the apps that are surging as possible replacements on the App Store. Well, similar concerns perhaps will be held. The two biggest are both Chinese-backed apps. One, its name literally translates to Little Red Book, i.e. Chairman Mao's Little Red Book. It is an Instagram-esque video application. And the other is called Lemon8, a similar app that's also owned by ByteDance, the same company that owns TikTok, with the connections to the Chinese Communist Party. So the replacements that Americans are considering in the wake of this TikTok ban have the same problematic issues.
We will sell them the rope. What was Lenin's vote?
Throat for our own hanging.
For their hanging, for their own hanging. This is an extraordinarily powerful surveillance tool by the communist Chinese government. And the fact that you have politicians that aren't all standing shoulder to shoulder, providing more protections is crazy. And of course, you look at what Russia has done. And they deliberately have sent out misinformation in political campaigns to try to divide Americans. This is. I mean, people on both sides. We're going to talk about a chairman who was stripped of his position on the Intel committee because he actually stood on the floor last term and he said, you Republicans, you're receiving Russian disinformation and you're spouting it on the floor of the People's House. So Russia has been very successful actually spreading disinformation through social media indirectly. And yet we're letting the communist Chinese government do it directly. So we're concerned about U.S. still being owned by the Japanese, but we're not concerned about the greatest surveillance tool on our phones in the world, like being controlled by the communist Chinese government.
Like, I'm with you on that. And by the way, we're treating Japan worse than China, but that's a separate conversation here. Also, there's no reciprocity. The access that the Chinese have to American society through TikTok, you would say it would be one thing if we also had similar access to Chinese society.
Right.
Last I checked, we have zero access to Chinese society. My guess, though, Joe, is despite everything you said, and that's why I was laughing before, I actually think that one way or another this is going to go through. Donald Trump likes TikTok. He has a friend who's a big investor in it. I think, the fact that you have the Chinese sending their number 2 guy to the inauguration, he wants to, in some ways, invest in this relationship with China. And he also, as you know, likes to get involved in something, jump in, and show that only he can make the deal.
Right.
So my prediction is, one way or another, whether it's under a separate name or something, we're going to find, the United States is going to find a way to allow TikTok, or the app formerly known as TikTok, to have access in the United States. And I think it highlights a larger thing.
Owned by an American?
No, I think
so. The communist Chinese will still have control over our children's phones.
That would be right. And I think it shows a larger thing. This administration, potentially, the new administration, is all over the place on China. You've got those who care about the Taiwan issues, the traditional geopolitiks, and you've got those who are worried about the economic challenge coming from China. We've got this issue, and there's no consensus whatsoever in the new administration about to take over about how to deal with China.
Okay.